dismantling the Cuddy. You can see it's got a bad body mount right in the front. And this core support's been patched, so that'll have to be patched better. And you have to get this all anchored down when we put it back together, but we're just dismantling it for now.
Mine was all rotted out too, and when the body shop took it apart, they said they couldn't get any, and they had that jammed up. This looks like it's the same thing. They just stick a block of foam underneath here, and there's no bolt. And then just the fenders and everything held it in place. But this should be the good anchoring point that your fenders go to.
Right, the whole core support here is floating on this car right now. And has been probably since I've owned it.
When you end up having to have an area where a windshield wiper goes, this is the cowl in a later style vehicle, all the armature goes on there. If you've ever worked on a 55 Chevy and you had to try working on a windshield wiper motor, it's a bitch. Everything's sharp sheet metal and all this sheet metal ductwork comes out. Now the cars are all plastic on the inside. It's easy to come off. This stuff is easy. You just pop this whole thing out. You can unbolt. You got an arm that's connected to that motor right there. But water that comes in here needs to get out somewhere. And you'll see little seeds. And, you know, if you park underneath trees and stuff, crap goes in here. And during the year, if you have a vehicle, when you wash your car and stuff, and you want to get all the water out of it, you should always blow in here. And these things, they pop. If I didn't have my gloves on, you can pop these out really easy. And then you blow out all this area. And these have little flaps on them. The critters will get in here, and just all the seeds and stuff that'll hold moisture, it'll rot this area out. On mine, I got a rot here from mice making nests right here, and then they're pissing and shitting, and the urine is real strong and it eats through there. So if you look at this car, you can see this frame is really heavy duty. Everything, I mean, you can, if you lost control and through a ditch, it would take a lot to wreck it. Whereas nowadays with the unitized bodies, you go through a ditch and it's sprung, you know, it's twisted. These things are really tough, but the vehicle weighs 4,000 pounds. So you gotta have a big engine to get it moving. So what our job is anywhere we can find places to take weight off, because it doesn't get driven in the winter and stuff. We're gonna take anything off that doesn't get used and eliminate it, try and make it lighter. There's a distinct huge bushing hole there, and this guy had his core support rust out, and he put like 1/4 inch plate. It's really heavy, and then it was resting on this, and it's just like a big biscuit of rubber, trying to get the height so that it probably held for a short time. It was so rusty it shook loose. So we got to rebuild this whole thing, rebuild this piece here, and then a channel coming out here. We're going to eliminate the battery box. It's going to be in the trunk. And then he's going to get a whole new bushing set, lift the body up, every place where the rusted, you know, we'll fix it.
This side says like a raised landing pad that's going to have to be reconstructed for this side.
That'll work.
But we don't want to spend any money on it. The name of the game is to go cheap and eliminate weight. Actually, just eliminating that big plate there is going to eliminate a nice chunk of weight. I'm going to work on cleaning up this engine bay. A lot of shoddy wiring, and probably get rid of some of that weight I was talking about. And then primer and paint the firewall and frame as good as possible. I'm definitely not going to pull the engine. This is already a huge project, and I don't want to make it any worse. We do have a little bit of patching to do on the cowl, not bad. And the body mounts to the frame are solid in the front here, so we're not going to mess with those either. both of these holes are rusted out in the frame and they're going to need some repairs. But that's okay. The new bushing set's in the mail. I've carefully tucked the wiring harness for that blower motor back inside the car without cutting it, so it can be reused. A little bit of cheese in there, not like the Javelin. I'm going to attempt taking the blend box out now, see how hard that is, without removing the dash. I don't know. Do you think we need windshield wipers for that? There's a little clip on there.
Wisconsin. You gotta use a lot of Rain-X.
The washer squirter tube. I don't think we need those anymore. He didn't like the shock mounts. If you look inside this cowl area, you'll see an inlet for air. And there it is. There's already a flapper valve built inside of it that turns it on and off. And if I keep the car, we're probably going to duct that to the windshield defroster duct. And that would be that duct right there. And we'll leave that in place. I do have another dash for this car, and if I like it, we might vinyl dye it and put that in instead of this one.
What's the matter with this one?
This one ain't even really that bad, but it was kind of a poor vinyl dye job, and some of it you can see is coming undone. You could redo it too. I think the other one I got has the factory gauge package in it. This one doesn't. Here's today's booty. We're going to see what we took off the car. 26 pounds it looks like.
25.8.
What do you think about the Creature Comfort weight savings? Was it worth it?
I don't know. If we get 100 pounds off the car, it makes a difference. But everything takes a while. The first stuff is really fast. Then later on, it gets harder and harder to eliminate weight. A lot of people thought those rotating seats were cool. I have them in my Laguna. He's got them in here. When you go to lift them out of the car, you darn near, hurt your back. They're really heavy. So he's probably going to go with some fiberglass seats in here too, and that'll probably save 50 pounds.
If not more. Swivel buckets, one's turned outright right now. The cost to reupholster these is 3 to 4 times what it would cost us to put some lightweight racing buckets in it.
So you guys might think this is just like a big rust bucket, but it's got fuzzy rust on it. But everything where the body mounts are and where you need structure, it's not rotted out. We're just gonna, scrape and blow it out and clean it as much as we can, get a coat of paint on it, and try to keep it from rusting. A lot of times when you don't use it as a regular car and it's sitting outside, mice will actually jump up, they run around in here and they make a nest right in here. And this is where mine was rusted out. I had to make a whole new box in here and new floor pans because they just sit in here and they urinate, and their urine is really strong and it just eats through the metal. They're pigs.
The fender attaches right down here, and that's still solid enough.
Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing actually. The back of this car is really rusted, but amazing that the front isn't as bad. There was some talk about taking the engine out so you could properly paint the frame and whatnot, but all the work is actually in the back of this car. and I don't want to get in over my head. The motor runs fine, so I'm just going to do the best I can with it the way it is, and then move on. All this stuff can always be revisited later. We're going to make a couple aluminum plugs basically for the firewall to plug all this up, and then we'll paint them the same as everything else. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.